Hello and welcome to your review for graphing absolute values. All right, so this is the review. So we're going to put everything into practice today. So what we're going to look for is in your equation. Remember, this is called vertex form. So we're going to be looking for the vertex, which is going to be h, comma, k. Now remember, h, if that is positive, it goes left. If h is negative, it moves right. Then the k value, if that is positive, it goes up, and if it's negative, it goes down. And then last but not least, we have this a value, or the number in front. The a value tells us two things. It tells us if the v opens up, okay, and that's if it is a positive number, and your v opens down if it's negative. And then the other thing that this a value tells us is if it is a shrink or a stretch. So the test tomorrow is going to be telling us all of those. So the stretch is when this number is bigger than 1. So we're talking about things like 2, 3, 4. Now we could also have a fraction like 5 over 4 because 5 over 4 is 1 1/4, so that is bigger than 1. Okay, so that's why I can't just say fractions. The shrink is when it's the absolute value and that number is bigger than 0, but less than 1. And most of the time, we just tell you to be looking for fractions. I know that's not 100% accurate, okay, but most of you can just look for fractions. All right, for shrink or stretch. All right, let's put all that knowledge to use and try this example number 1. So what does the -8 make it do? Okay, well, let's look where that is. That is the k value on the outside. So the k value, if it's positive, it goes up, and if it's negative, it goes down. All right, so what do we have? That is a -8. So what does it make it do? It makes the vertex goes down. All right, the +7, when this is on the inside, that +7, see how inside that h value, that is a plus, so it makes it go left. So this +7 makes it go left. And what does the 6 make it do? Well, there's two things. One thing is that it opens up because it's positive. And the second thing is that a stretch or a shrink? Okay, well, let's go back here. And so it's a number like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is going to be a stretch. All right, let's try another one like that. All right, is this a shrink or a stretch? Well, we missed one. Okay, here it is. What does the -11? Okay, so it's on the inside, and see when I underline it, it goes left and right. So if that's a negative, it makes this go right. Okay, now on the outside, this 17 is going this way. So if it's a plus sign, this plus sign is going to make this vertex go up. All right, what does the -2/5? So this number out in front, it has two things that it makes it do. Is the graph going to open up, or is the graph going to open down? And it's going to be down because it is a negative number. And the second thing we want to know, is this a shrink or a stretch? Okay, and this one is a shrink because that number is between, this number is between 0 and 1. 2/5 is between 0 and 1, so this is a shrink. All right, so new equation, and this is going to be a drop-down menu on your test. And is this a shrink or a stretch? So which number do we look at? Do we look at the -4, the 3 or the 10 for a shrink or a stretch. And we look at this number here in front. And because it is a 4, not because it's negative, just because it's a 4, this is going to be stretched out. Now, the reason that that is a negative 4 is, does this graph open up or does it open down? Well, because that's a negative 4, it is going to be opening down. All right, here we have an absolute value equation, and they want to know the vertex, and then if it opens up or down, and if it's a shrink or a stretch. Well, I'm going to do the open and down part first because that's what we were just doing here. So to be the open and down part, I am looking at this number right here, and that is a negative value. And because it's negative, that means it's going to be going down. And now the 1/4, does that make it be a shrink or a stretch? And because it's a 1/4, it is going to be a shrink. That number is between 0 and 1. All right, the vertex. Where does the vertex come? The vertex comes from this number here by x, that 15. Now, because that's a plus 15, that means it's going left. So if we go left, that means that number is a negative 15. And then this number right here tells me whether it's going up or down. And because that's a negative 6, we put in the negative 6. The only time we do the opposite sign is when it is inside these absolute values. All right, another one like that. So finding the vertex, open or down, and shrink or stretch. Again, I'm going to do the open down part first because that open down part is looking at this number right here, this 8. Because that 8 is positive, this thing's going to open up. Now that's an 8, so anytime it's bigger than 1, what they're doing is they're stretching it out. So if it's bigger than 1. All right, now we need to find our vertex here. So finding our vertex, we are looking here for numbers after x. So when I look at this one and see when I underline it, it goes left and right. And because that says negative 1, remember inside these absolute values, it goes the opposite of what we think. So it kind of looks like it's going to go left 1, but remember it's going to go right. So this number is going to be a positive. Now, is there a number outside here anywhere? Is it going up? Is it going down? No, the vertex is not moving at all. So this number is a 0. So it is 1, 0. All right, now they want us to write an absolute value equation. So we write an absolute value equation on your test. They're going to have some boxes here, and you are going to be filling in these boxes. So what do we fill in? Well, I'm going to find my vertex first. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to name this vertex. So if this vertex is 1, 2, 3, it's 3, up 1. Okay, so 3, 1. So this is like a plus 3 and a plus 1. Okay, the end one, the one on the end, is the one that goes in the last box. So this plus 1 goes right here as a plus 1. Now remember, when we're going to put something inside these absolute values, remember, if this is saying a plus 3, we have to do the opposite because something funky happens inside those. So I'm going to put a negative 3 inside that box. And now I have to look at this number, this a value that goes in front. So I'm going to go back here to my graph and I'm going to count. How many does it go up and then over? So it goes up 2 and it goes over 1. Well, 2 divided by 1 is 2, so that's my number that goes there. And this red graph, it's going up. The V is opening up, so I'm going to leave it positive. So it's going to be that positive 2 that's there. All right, write another absolute value equation. So there's going to be a box here, absolute value of x, and then there's going to be another box, absolute value, and another box. This is what your test is going to be, and then they're going to be drop down or drag menus to do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the vertex. Where is my vertex? So it doesn't look like it doesn't go left or right at all, so that's just a 0. And then now what do we have? It didn't go left or right. It went 1, 2, 3, 4. It went up 5. All right, so if that vertex, what this number on the inside is that we wouldn't even have a number here. So we would say no number, okay? No number. I don't even think they'd give you a 0 as a possibility, but if they did and you wrote +0, that would be okay. And then what we're going to have on the end in this box is going to be your +5. All right, now we got to find that A value. Okay, so we got to find the A that goes in here. So we start at my vertex, and the first thing I see is that it is going down. So how many is it going down? So to another point where it goes exactly through. So I'm following along this line till it goes exactly where 2 lines meet. Okay, those are my points. So how many down 2? And how many are we going over? 1, 2, 3. So down 2 over 3. So that is a negative 2/3 because it's going down and the graph is opening down. So negative 2/3. We don't have to put any number in the middle. And then we have a +5 because that vertex went up 5, a vertical change. All right, which graph represents here? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is look at this -2. Because of that -2, I know that it's opening down. So what that means for me is I'm not going to choose this one, and I'm not going to choose that one. I can get rid of those right away. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my vertex. And then at my vertex, I look in the direction of X, and there's no number there. So it's a 0, -4. So which one does not go left or right and then goes down? So this one, see how it goes -4? That's your X value. Our X value is 0. So I'm going to cross this one off, and that means that this one is my correct answer. So C is the correct answer here. All right, well, at least when you're recording, if you're getting bored, you guys can always take a pause, go grab a drink, and come back. But I got to keep plugging along here. All right, so the first thing I notice here is that number is a +1. And it's positive, so that means it's opening up. So I'm going to get rid of C right away. That does not work. Now I'm going to find my vertex. And remember, we always go the opposite of whatever's inside. And so because that says a -4, I'm going to go a +4, -6. Well, look at this. It went left. That's wrong. This went right. That's good. This one went left. That's wrong. So it only leaves me with one possible answer, and B is the correct answer here. It's the only one that went right for, and it opened up. All right, the last things on your test are going to be writing equations when they give you this verbiage. So write an absolute value equation. And we're going to fill in these blanks here. So if it's opening down, that means I need to have a negative number right here. And if it's a stretch, that means I need any kind of number like a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and they'll give you options on your homework or on the test, so that'll be fine. Now the vertex moves right 9, so in here, this is which way is going right. So remember, right kind of makes us think +9, but because we're going inside the absolute value, right, we go -9. And then this other blank here, it says it's going up 4 units. So if my vertex is going up 4, I'm going to put a +4 in there. And those are the 3 blanks you're going to have to fill in on both your review and your test. All right, I think we made it to the last question here. And this one's asking us to write an absolute value equation. And on the homework and your test, there's going to be those 3 blanks, and you're going to be dragging some stuff in. So let's see what it says. It is a function that opens up, so that's important. It opens up with a shrink, okay? Opens up and is a shrink. Remember, a shrink is going to be a fraction, and because it's opening up, it's going to be positive. So make any fraction you want, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, as long as it's a number smaller than 1. All right, now this thing needs to move right 2 units. So we're going right. So that means we're going to need to put in a -2. And our last thing here that we want is up 5. So we're going to put in a +5. All right, that's your review. Go ahead and give your homework a try and email if you have any questions.